I'll just record today and we will get started. Well, guys, I'm excited because we talked about doing this book club on Mondays and we worked our way through um reading one book so far and feeling like, this is a great habit for us to get into. And there are so many amazing books that we could kind of choose from. Um, and actually, I found someone that does a really great visual of some book reviews that we may use those at some points in the future. But today, I thought I'd share with you just some of my takeaways. This book is called Intentional Living. This is John Maxwell. If you haven't ever met him or seen him before, he's a bit of an older dude now. This is actually a much younger picture of him, but he is by far like my favorite author, I would have to say. His perspective on leadership and life just comes from a very faith-filled perspective. And I feel like it's like, you're talking to your dad, somebody that, speaks into your soul and just really is so thought-provoking about life. And so I don't know about you guys. If you have a favorite author that you love to learn from, I'd love to hear who that is for you. So drop it in the chat if you've got someone in particular that you can think of that you enjoy learning from. Because we've all got different styles. But what I love is that we can do kind of a book review and share in a style that connects with us. And hopefully sharing a little bit of this reflection will connect with you and make you hopefully encouraged to read the book. Um, just wanting to grow yourself and enjoying the perspective that he has, because I really enjoy him. So, um, I don't know what your book review style kind of looks like. Um, but I do think that we need to take time to do our personal development, to constantly grow ourselves, and to hear other people's perspectives. It's really powerful. That is so sad, Mary Jo. Like, I could literally cry reading that. Mary Jo says 20 years ago she purchased his whole collection and gave them away because she thought she would never be a leader. How sad is that? Way back then, he had a ton. Now it is crazy how much he has. Yeah. Check your carrot. Sure. We've got like a big jackrabbit living on the property. He's like, "Can I take a carrot into the rabbit?" Anyways, all right. Well, I am gonna just kind of dive into this book. I think it's really transformational. I think it's something everyone should read at some point in their lifetime. And, it's really, hopefully this isn't just like a book review. Oh, Francine, that's so sad too, losing your John Maxwell Bible. I do have the John Maxwell Bible where he just kind of pulls out leadership lessons from many different characters in the Bible. And then yeah, there are so many books. And when I went to pull this out again yesterday, I was like, we have so many John Maxwell books, but I absolutely love them. And, even just the cover of the book here says, every person wants his or her life to matter. You probably have a longing to be significant, to make a contribution, to do something noble and purposeful. But do you doubt that these things are within your reach? Do you think that to make a positive impact on the world, you need to be a certain age, have a lot of money, be famous, or have a big idea? The good news is that none of those things is necessary for you to achieve significance or create a lasting legacy. The key to choosing a life that matters is being intentional. If you possess the desire to make a difference, place a high value on people, and are willing to team up with others, significance is in your reach. John Maxwell considers Intentional Living to be the most important book he's ever written. In it, he shares his lifelong personal journey of significance and walks you through every step of the way through your own journey. He shows you how to start small, but believe big, find your why, and live every day as if it matters, because it does. And so it really is like a roadmap for choosing a life that matters. So drop in the chat or share out loud, what does a life that matters mean to you? Like when you hear that phrase, what does that trigger for you? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yes, Becky, definitely put it on your list. Servant leadership, doing for others. I love that those are your instinctual reactions. A life that matters is making a difference, right? Doing for others, bringing others to Jesus. 100% I agree with that, Mary Jo. Most important thing we could ever do. Love it. Well, I hope that prompts you to think. A life that matters means my success comes from helping others, being encouraging. Ah, this like warms my heart. I'm like, this is what my friends think matters in life. I love that. Helping others and being a shoulder for people in need, being content with your accomplishments and helping others, purpose and sharing God in our light. Yeah. Love these reflections, guys. I think you will absolutely resonate with this book. Um, when you think about the plot of your life, right? This is it. When we were at Road, one of the most challenging and thought-provoking things we did was we actually had to write out different people in our life who were the people that mattered most, and then basically write our own eulogy. And it was like we were given, um, just time to reflect and think about like what do people really think of us? If we were gone today, how would people remember you? And it's so, so powerful and kind of shakes you to your core to think about that. And so really like I think one of the main things that John Maxwell says in this book is he's asking this question of what would happen if you committed to living a life of intentional influence, right? We've talked about how we impact like over 10,000 people in our lifetime, every single one of us. That's like the minimum amount of people that you influence at some point or way in your life. And so when you think about that, if it's intentional influence and we're thinking about that kind of what would people say about me if I died tomorrow? What kind of an impression do we want to make on them? And most people, I think, want to make a difference, but very few people do it on purpose. And so when you start thinking about living intentionally, um, it's living proactively instead of reactively. So, has there ever been a season of your life where you felt like life was happening to you instead of for you? This concept we've shared before, but how does it feel when you're thinking about life happening to you and that there's nothing, it's really more like there's nothing that you can do about it. Yeah. What is your legacy? What do you want people to remember about you after you are gone? Will you still be a part of their lives? Will they still say, I'm so happy I knew her or him? Yeah. If we managed every day with that thought in mind, how much could that shift the way that we live and love in every interaction that we have, right? If we start feeling like life is happening to us, it's that victim mindset. If we feel like life is happening for us, we're the leaders of our life, right? We're moving our life forward. And yeah, especially our kids. What will they say about us? And anyways, it was just funny when we visited a new church yesterday. We're trying to find our new church family out here. And anyways, just thinking about, some people that live life wanting like having good intentions, right? And I think there's a big difference between good intentions and intentional living, right? Good intentions won't change your life, but intentional action changes our life, like in huge, huge ways. And so one of the quotes that he shares is the difference between a life of good intentions and a life of intentional living is the difference between wanting to make a difference and actually making one. So, the reason we do these mindset calls, right? Mindset isn't what we hope for, it's what we're choosing daily. Success doesn't come from like just random efforts. It comes from purposeful daily decisions that we make about who we want to become, right? It's not just about putting on a show. It's hopefully really deeply rooted in who do we want to become as a person. And it's so important that, for me, my faith is central to that. And so it's that whole task of like commit to the Lord what you do, and he'll help you make your plan. And so many times in life, we just sort of fall into this space of being on autopilot, right? We get up, we do our mundane day-to-day things, and we're sort of going through the motions, right? Anybody feel me that some days you just get up and you feel like you're going through the motions. Um, and we don't want to like let life happen to us, but that's what happens when we're just going on autopilot. So what would change if you were intentional in that space where you feel like you're on autopilot? But recently every day, right? We get stuck into these ruts where we feel like um we're just plodding along, and we're just on that same old routine. And so think about when you get intentional. And again, just to kind of like tie this into what we do, if you had a check opening call on the 12th, you probably heard stories of people who have made some amazing checks this month, and it comes as a result of them being intentional, right? We got to intentionally do our accountability sheets and do our task lists and do our KPIs. And if you do that, you could double the size of your team. You could blow your business up from just 90 days of intentional action. So when John Maxwell talks about, kind of 5 steps to living intentionally, the first one is to start small, but to start today. And I hope that we can kind of like, I'm going to run through a lot of these kind of highlight takeaways, and they might be like phrases or things that you've heard about before, but I challenge you to write it down today, whichever ones stand out to you, because there's a place where you're probably stuck in your cycle, right? And that's why we're on autopilot. And so if we want to shift things, we can do that intentionally. And so he says, "Oh, you want to say good morning?" Good morning. Tyler's here again today. Um, so start small, but start today, right? We have to start somewhere. And oftentimes we put off and we put off, right? And what's that procrastination like? Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. Don't wait for the perfect time. We have to just start where we are, start with what we have, because consistency beats out intensity every time, right? And I know Chelsea, that's one of her favorite quotes, and she shared that when we were at Road, when in talking about consistency, is consistency over intensity, guys. Absolutely, Becky. We need to intentionally bring God into our business. And I really think there's so much power to praying over our business. So I love that. Um, but what's the small things that you could start with today? What's something you could do differently? Right? And again, when we think about habit stacking, right? Sending 3 messages every morning before you check social media. Share your why with one new person every week, right? Just kind of getting going with that. I love this. Mary Jo shared her post from the other day. It's so on track for, oh, I love it when this happens, right? Her post from the other day, it is what it is. That used to be my anthem, my excuse, my way of settling. No more silencing that inner voice that says you were made to make a difference. The sky is not the limit. It's just the beginning. There's a whole world of impact, purpose, and possibility waiting, and I'm not sitting on the sidelines anymore. Let's stop accepting what is and start becoming what can be, not just for ourselves, but for everyone we're meant to help along the way. Rise and shine, my friends. Love that. Yes, it's just making the decision and starting to live that way. So definitely start small, but start today. So what's one thing that you can commit to that you're going to start with today? I'd love for you to drop that in the chat, even just as your accountability for yourself, because it's so powerful. And then he also says, search until you find your why. And we talk about our why repeatedly. Like, I think every day it probably comes up in some way or another. Because if you don't know your why, if you don't have that purpose as your driving force at your core, it's easy to get tossed by the waves and it's easy to fall into autopilot, right? Because we forget why we're even doing this. And when you know the why, the how figures itself out. So search until you find your why. Um, Purpose fuels persistence. Okay. And I love that he's constantly bringing it back to purpose. And what what cause, um, like what's the impact or result that you are looking to make or have that gets your heart beating, right? It gets you in that state of like you have to do something that scares you every day. And when your why is driving you, you got to push yourself outside your comfort zone and try something new. And I believe that all of us are called and equipped, right? And because God doesn't just call the qualified, he qualifies the called. We are already equipped with what we need to take our business and our life to the level that we want to be. I know that God has a plan for all of us, a plan to prosper us, not to harm us, and so there's a greater plan in place. But we have to figure out why we're doing it and use that as fuel to move forward. And I love that your reflections were also putting people first because um, one of the things John Maxwell says is, impact is always about people. And he his perspective on leadership is that influence begins with service and leadership equals influence, right? So if service is where we start, we're going to become leaders in the process. You can't even help it. And so if we shift our focus to serving people, right? And we don't have to feel like we're not recruiting people here. This isn't an MLM. We're not recruiting people. We're serving people. Truly, we're helping people reach their goals. So if we focus on that, our business is going to grow as a result of it. And then in chapter 6 here, he talks about adding value adding value to others from your sweet spot. What is your gift that you have to share with the world? And so if we wake up and we ask ourselves, how can I serve today? That it becomes value-based leadership where we're able to build trust and influence with people because our goal is to serve people, right? I hope that I can serve you guys in some way by facilitating this call. It's not that, I have anything necessarily to offer, but by facilitating a space where we can come together, I hope that you have some sort of trust in me and we all get to have an influence on each other by being here, by showing up, by contributing every day. And so it's the small things. It's being the person that celebrates others, right? You should be the loudest person in your team chat. If you want to grow, you got to start by serving others. You don't say, well, this isn't my team and I shouldn't share my tips here, right? The people that share the most grow the fastest, reach leadership ranks the fastest, right? Because it's not about you and it's not that lack mentality of like, I need to keep this to myself. It's the more you give, the more you get. The more you give, the more you grow. And so when you are adding value to others, when you're saying, hey, this worked for me, let me go share it with someone else, again, takes us back to that learning pyramid of shifting things for you on how deeply rooted it becomes. So are you celebrating other people? I hope you were on the check opening call and you were able to share, with others and celebrate with others, because it's so important when you do that. I love it. Becky says, when I go to bed, I think of three names. I pray over them, and then in the morning, I make my approaches with those three as a start to my day. Beautiful. influence others to want to do more, not to settle. I just realized that may be my exact avatar of who I want to talk to. Makes such a difference in life. Yes, absolutely. Can you think about what people would say at your eulogy if you inspired them to do more and not to settle in life? They would remember you as someone who made a lasting impact on not just them, but now that ripple effect of like who they touch becomes an extension of the love that you gave in the way that you served. So really to be able to pray and I love these things that you're sharing, right? Open my eyes, open my ears and heart to see those people in my day that need me. If that's your goal every day, man, what's going to come out of that? Thank you. Francine says these calls have helped me in more ways than I can say. You have a ton to offer. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I I feel the same about all of you, right? When you guys share in here, it impacts me. It helps me to grow. It shifts my perspective so often. And that's really intentional. You guys intentionally sharing makes an intentional impact that has a lasting legacy. So when we focus on adding value to other people, and John Maxwell talks about sharing from your sweet spot, like what is your gift that you have to give to the world? That's what we need to do. Take that special thing that you have. And again, I love the concept of a team. And I'm one of five kids. And I grew up in a family where my mom always said, this is the first team that you're ever going to be on. And you better learn to be a good team player, right? Because the team needs you. When you're down, you need the team. And when you're up, the team needs you. So think about where are you at today? If you're down and you need some encouragement, that's okay. It's okay to come here to get fueled up. But when you come here and you're on top of your game, right? Louis like, I sent my approaches even in the middle of a vacation day, you know, that is adding value because you're inspiring others to do what you've done. And so when you're up, the team needs you because guess what? I bet there's a few people on here who had that prick this morning as Louis said that to be like, man, I need to do more, right? Thank you, Mary Jo. My mom honestly truly was the most amazing person. If you can see this is my mama here. I had a friend of mine right after she passed, took a picture that I had posted on Facebook and had it hand painted. And it is one of the most special things. And I love that she's kind of looking over my shoulder this morning as we do this call. But she truly was a beautiful woman. And the the way that she raised us inspires me every day to try to be a better mother because um, everything was so true, right? And it all came from such a biblical perspective too of saying like God created you for more and you better live up to it. So but when you think about that concept of being a team player, right? Um, together, team stands for together, everyone achieves more. And that was also something that she taught us right from the get-go. Is like, we are better as a family when we all work together. And we're also a unit because it's the same way that a body needs different parts of it to be different things and do different things because some people are gifted to be hands, right? That's you are meant to serve. You love to be behind the scenes. You do the things, right? You think about how an event comes together and you think about our events team, um, even with Melaleuca, when you watch them, it's like this well-oiled machine but no one's trying to have the spotlight or do it all because you can't. You need someone that's going to be the hands because they do that best. You need someone that's going to be a brain because they think about all the elements. You need someone that's going to be the feet that moves things forward and does what needs to happen. You need the heart, right? So what are you? What is the gift that you have to give to the world? What is your sweet spot? And you add value from that. And it's okay. We don't need to be like everyone else, but we need to realize that our contribution matters. And so bring your best foot forward and show people that side of you. What it is that you have to give is going to be a part of the whole. So um, just celebrating others, like I said. jumping on a call, being here, encouraging someone else, um, it really has power. And there's people that are going through like a waiting season in their life. They're waiting for their breakthrough. And we can encourage them where they're at by showing them that we've made it to the other side, right? Or just by encouraging them and loving them where they're at. We have to live intentionally. We have to plan to do that. We have to look for opportunities to do that because we have opportunities to encourage people all the time, right? You've probably heard about someone or seen someone, or maybe you are the someone who says to the person in line, like, I love your shoes. You know, your kids are so cute, whatever, right? That's those little things. You have no idea what someone's going through and how much of an encouragement that can be to someone's day. So very, very powerful to be that person who is encouraging and sees people where they're at. And then, so adding value to others. And then he talks about to add value to others, you first have to value yourself. Do you? Do you appreciate what it is, your God-given gifts and talents? Like, we overlook ourselves comparing to other people instead of stopping and saying, I do have something to offer here. So remind yourself of that today. You have something to offer to the world. That light that, was mentioned. You need to give that, right? Yeah, help people see that it is not over till Jesus calls you home, and never stop. You are needed right down to that last second. There is a reason you are still here. It is a plan. It is a part of God's divine plan for your life. And yeah, so be a teammate, be willing to contribute, add value to others. And then he also says live with intentional consistency. When you make up your mind, it's going to build momentum. That's just, it has to happen. And when we talked about executive energy this week, right? It's not about hype, it's about alignment. It's about knowing where you're going, being intentional about that. So what habits do we need to build that reflect our intentions? We say we want this, we say we want this status, but do we have the habits that back it up? That if people knew us, they were like, oh yeah, she's working towards that, right? When we talk about Aaron Clark, who said for a long time, like, I am a corporate director seven, and she started living and acting like she was a corporate director seven to become a corporate director seven, right? So she backed it up. This is intentionally where I want to go. These are the habits I need to build. This is what I'm going to do every day. And she started showing up like the person she wanted to be. And we have to do that in life, guys. So if I were to ask you, what's your goal? Like, what's your status goal? Are you walking like that leader? Are you showing up like that person in how you connect with others and work your business? There's something that also is very like psychological to intentional living. And we've talked about that cognitive dissonance of like when our actions don't match our values. And then we get stuck in that place where we feel that tension, and our brain is going to be rewired when we do the same things over and over and over again. So we have to get intentional about choosing what those actions are that are going to take us to where we want to be and just continue to do it. And we're going to rewire our brain. And again, it's that when you read that book and he says, um, it's not that I am not, but I'm trying to think of how he words it. Um, like he's not saying uh, I don't smoke. He's saying I am a non-smoker. It's like this is my character. This is who I am, right? So it's like, are you speaking that life over yourself from that perspective of like, this is who I am a corporate director seven. I am a senior director, right? We have to believe that. How do we learn what it is that you need to do? By asking the others that are already there. And yeah, is there other ways? We should brainstorm here how to know what those actions are. That's a great point. So if you look at the people that are where you want to be, that's definitely one way of seeing what it is that you can do. But also sometimes We're looking for excuses and we're looking for ways out instead of just taking action. We try to find this like system and this strategy. Well, what is it that they're doing? There must be some secret, right? It's just that they get up and they take that consistent and intentional action of moving towards it and they stop making excuses. So we have to intentionally live and we're going to inspire others when we do that, like consciously and subconsciously. We're inspiring others when we just get intentional and we are consistent and we do the things that even when it doesn't look like it's working, especially when it doesn't look like it's working. So it's that whole, atomic habits, right? Like I am the kind of person who, what? How would you label yourself? How would you describe yourself? If you could write your ideal eulogy, what would you say about who you are? Instead of saying, I need to work out, it's like, I work out consistently. I'm the kind of person who honors my body by moving. That's part of who we are. So if we think about how to apply intentional living in a real life circumstance of like how we're working our business, a 30-day sprint, a 90-day sprint. If we go, who was it? Mary Jo, were you the one that was like, I'm doing this go live challenge? Or maybe it was Cynthia and saying like, I'm going to go live a certain number of days, right? So imagine if you chose to go live every day for 30 days, even if you had very low views and you didn't have people showing up on your live every day, what would be the result of you doing that? You'd probably gain some confidence. You'd probably build some momentum. You'd probably sign a few new customers, right? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? But yet we put it off because we're like, well, I don't have very many views on my videos. Well, you've got to start somewhere and you've got to build that up. Like, I've seen people, I have a friend who, in like a month, went director two, 2020 club, and director three in 1 month. But guess what? She's pregnant. And she's like, I got a deadline. I got to do this. I got to be consistent. I got to show up and just started doing the dang thing because she was committed to her goal. So she started sending 5 messages a day. She started like bringing her people along with her and helping her do the same thing. And and that was what took her there. So if you get intentional, you can do it too. There's people all around you. If you were on a check opening call, you probably heard stories of people who surpassed their own goals that they had set for themselves because they got into that habit. And like, yes, it's scary the first couple of ones you do, but then you kind of get in this groove. I think Louis or Ian or somebody was saying this last week about it's true. It's like it's so nerve-wracking to send the messages and then you start sending them and you get into this groove. And your goal may have been to send out 3, and then you end up sending out 15 because you're in this place where your posture shifts and you're excited and you're confident. And so that's being intentional. The more you do it, the more you're going to feel it. Sometimes we don't feel it until we do it, right? We got to just get up and go anyways. Yesterday, my son didn't feel like he wasn't feeling well, got a little bit of heat stroke on the weekend, but like, wasn't feeling it. But then he's like, I don't know if I want to go to church. And then you get there and it's like, oh, I'm glad I went to church today. You know, it's like we can work it up in our minds and tell ourselves that we don't feel like doing something, but then just actually the motion creates the momentum and the action cures fear. So it's so true, right? Yeah, there are multiple check opening calls each month. It's so crazy. We had over 400 people on ours. Um, how many? Yeah, there would be 44,000 people opening a check if there was 10 calls. It's so true. Like it's mind-boggling to me because you get such a limited view of like what's happening on your own team, and then you hear from other people who have all made bigger checks than that, right? That had their own check opening calls, and you're like, oh my goodness, I thought there was a lot on our call, but there's even more out there. So it's so true. Everyone can do it. Why are you holding yourselves back? Are you believing in what's possible? Are you hearing those stories and are you letting it like defeat you or are you letting it inspire you? That's what we should be doing. We have to have that vision. See, success is an identity process. So don't compare yourself to other people. See yourself in their shoes. Ask, what did they do to get there? And then just start duplicating that. We don't just happen into a promotion, right? It doesn't happen by accident. I don't think that's happened. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Has anybody here accidentally had a promotion? It takes us being intentional and going after it. We don't just fall into a life that matters. We don't we don't just make a difference without planning to. We have to be intentional about it, right? If you don't care what anybody else thinks of you, when you're out in public and you're having a bad day, people are going to know. But when you're intentional about saying, I want to make an impact on every single person, I want to leave people better than I found them. And I don't care if it's the person at Tim Hortons that's serving coffee. I want to leave them better than I found them. I want to make a positive impact. And a smile can do that. It's so crazy how much you can shift someone's day with a smile. And if you get intentional about that, I'll tell you that is one of the things, and I may have shared this before, but that is one of the things that my mom hugely impacted me on. She battled cancer for 6 years and she was in a lot of pain. But every time I took her to a chemo treatment, every time I took her to a doctor's office, she made it a goal to smile at everyone that looked at her. And she said, everybody's having a bad day and nobody else wants to be here. And if I can just make an impact on somebody else's day by smiling at them and letting them, it subliminally lets them know that everything's going to be okay. And so it has become something that I try to be very intentional about, that I smile at every person that I meet. I think that's why I struggled so much with COVID and I was a non-masker because I thought, you know what? Everybody started to get so depressed. I thought we'd ever see anybody smile. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I refused. And I'm not a confrontational person, but I said I'm not wearing a mask because the first day I took my daughter out and I put a mask on her, she said, "But Mom, how are people going to see my smile?" Right? And it was like it had become so intentional. And I was trying to say to her, well, just smile with your eyes. And I'm like, people don't see that. We need to just take it off and let's just show them our smile. Let's just, be a light, even in the midst of all this darkness. Yeah, smiles and hugs. I was like, I am not participating because I'm not participating in that. And anyways, so are you being intentional about the way you live, about the way you impact people, about making a difference everywhere you go, whether it's the garbage man picking up your garbage at the end of the road, the person at the drive-through, the people on your team, the way that you bring a light to social media in the things that you say and share, right? We don't just fall into a life that matters. We have to choose it. So, what's a habit that all of us can choose to set over the next 30 days that really like is in alignment with our purpose? And who can you add value to today? How are you going to add value? I think that we need to like declare, I am living on purpose. I decree and declare that I'm going to make intentional choices today that are going to reflect what I know I'm called to do. I'm going to show up with faith. I'm going to show up with focus. I'm going to live a life that matters. And if that's our goal, I think we're going to see a huge ripple effect fall out into into the results we get. Yeah, Louis, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was thinking is whatever my intention of the day,
Yeah.
I'm going to add two to it, whatever
Mm,
I'm doing,
yeah.
and just see where I end up because in less than a week I'll have doubled at least whatever I'm thinking.
Yes.
So yeah, there's my intention.
Love it. Love it. It's that just one more when you think you've hit your goal, right? You're That's what personal trainers are the best at, right? They're gonna get you there. They're gonna say, we're gonna do 10 reps. And then you get to 10, they're like, we're gonna do five more, we're gonna do two more, we're gonna do one more, right? We gotta push you until your muscles burn a little bit. It's gotta hurt a little bit. You got to stretch because that's when your muscles are growing. So let's just tell ourselves that we set a goal and we're going to surpass it. We're going to go one more beyond that. Love it. Becky says, stop participating in office gossip. Say something positive about people that I work with. That's a great place to start. Mary Jo says, I'm going to compliment 10 people today minimum. Love that. Ian says, action is the key. If you wish or visualize a dream, the dopamine hit you get is the same whether you achieve it or not. So action is critical. 100%. Yeah. I have a sticker on my other computer and it says, action cures fear. Any other reflections? What are some ways that you are mentally processing today that you can live intentionally, that you can shift your focus, or that's something that you can commit to that's going to elevate your life? Love it.
Hey, Barb.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I keep hearing through this whole talk is to not let what your intentions are gratify yourself, but others. And it's that old saying as if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Yes. Yep. It is so true. That is the way to build it. Yeah, Mary Jo, go ahead.
Hey, so I'm just constantly thinking about um I haven't been doing this and it's been coming in my head through this whole conversation. One of my favorite books is The Five Love Languages.
Yes.
And um, I'm
Great.
going to be totally honest. I know that Carmen, my significant other's love language is words of affirmation. And I used to be so good at that for him. And I am not. So I'm going to over intentionally, even if I have to do like it says in the book, write down things to say, which sounds ridiculous, but it's not about how ridiculous it is. It's about how it makes them feel.
Mm,
And it's funny because yesterday I was thinking about it to myself, like, geez, I feel like everything between us is really tense lately. And that is part of the key. So I feel like no matter what I say, he takes it in the most negative way or whatever. And it's probably because I haven't been doing that. So if you know somebody's love language and you're not intentionally doing it,
mhm.
that's on you. And I'm feeling really convicted right now. And that is 100% going to be my goal this week is to, even if I have to write them down because I'm not feeling it right now, it will make it happen, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like I used to be a believer, another thing that I used to do, which is so, so sad, right at that same time frame of my life that I was talking about before, where I gave out those books and I said it is what it is.
Mm.
I also used to say, if I have to tell him I need a hug, then I don't want his damn hug. If I have to tell somebody that I need them to pay attention to me, then I don't want them to pay attention to me. And how silly is that? People don't know what you need if you don't tell them. But I wasted so many years with my ex being mad at him for doing things that he probably had no idea I wanted him to do. So, yeah, just that.
A good
Just,
reflection. I think we all can take something from that too. There's probably someone in our life that we can shift that
mm.
with as well. Love it. Yeah, Sharon, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we always say, we live in gratitude and we're always expressing our gratitude. And it's more, that we express it like in our prayers, but to really express that gratitude to the people out and about, a lot of times we just say the word thank you, which is great. I'm not saying not to say thank you, but just to really let people know, even if it's at the grocery store and they bag your groceries a certain way, to let them like actually use the word like, I appreciate you, and I mean, I think that can go a long way. Sometimes just changing our verbiage a little bit so that it really stands out and really resonates with those people instead of just the general thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Try to maybe be a little bit more creative with it, a little bit more meaningful with it, so it makes a greater impact on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You're here to make a difference. Yes, only one life will soon be passed. Only what's done for Christ will last. Absolutely. That helps us be That's the intention we should be living with. And it was funny, as Louis was talking, I had to grab this out. I mentioned this the other day, but this is one of my favorite mugs that says, "We rise by lifting others. No hot air required." And it has this phrase on it, and it says, "Everyone wants to get ahead in this world, but it's hard when people go about it in rude, selfish, and thoughtless ways. The fact is, the real rise to the top starts by just letting go of the rat race and concentrating on lifting and inspiring others. When we stop focusing on ourselves, we find extraordinary joy in watching others' dreams take flight. In the process, they become the wind beneath our wings, and we effortlessly float to the top with them. In fact, we often find ourselves soaring higher than we ever dreamed possible. The ride is a blast and the view is amazing. So inspire, uplift, and empower others. It's the secret to true and lasting greatness." So I love having that. Inspire, uplift, and empower others. That can be our intentional way of living today. And I'm excited about it. Ty, he asked me if he could pray. We are going to close out now if you want to come pray. I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I do. It's like my favorite part of the day is when my kids pray with me. Great.
Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. I pray that everybody will make a new check that will be a lot.
Mhm.
I pray that the rain will come because it's really dry outside.
Mhm.
And I pray for anybody that's sick. And thank you that we have our lives and to have parents to take care of us. And thank you for dying on the cross. Amen.
Amen. Love it. So much to be thankful for and all the little
That was beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was amazing.
Everybody have a great day.
Have a good day.
Mary Jo, you started your gratitudes.
Yes, absolutely.
I love
You
it.
guys are awesome today. It was amazing. Thanks.
You are very welcome. Thanks for being here, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Have a good day, guys.
You too.